now it's time for our final speaker, and he will read from the book of mobile revelations. It's Mr. Bruce Sterling, ladies and gentlemen.
I feel the power. Mobile sinners in the hands of an angry market. Oh yeah. I'm rising. I'm rising. So, thank you, Mobile Monday crew, for giving me this delightful and worthy experience. Okay, this is the last sermon of the day, and I know I'm between you and the beer. So it really can't be too short. I have no slides. I know you can amuse yourself. If you really need some slides, I would recommend the slides from Timo Arnold's most recent speech. That's Timoarnall. He just did a speech called The Web and the World. He put his slides online. Those are some awesome slides. Go look at Timo's slides. Okay, so how many people here were at Picnic in Amsterdam last month? Pretty good, show of hands. How many people here were in the Internet of Things panel? Yeah, 1, 2, couple, 3, 4, yeah, all right. The Internet of Things panel at Picnic. It was worth my coming to Amsterdam, and I've been here over a month. It was worth my coming to Amsterdam just to see this event. Internet of Things, toys for hackers, or real business opportunity. That was the meeting, kind of a workshop there. I want you to just know what they said. I was there. I was the fly on the wall. I'm not going to attribute this to any of the guys who were actually there. They were kind of talking off the record to one another. They were just laying it down. They're all business guys trying to actually go into an Internet of Things space. I just want you to imagine yourself sort of floating in the room, hearing the voice, the prophetic voice of tomorrow's Internet of Things. Amsterdam, September 26, 2008. People ask me, how do you buy some of this Internet of Things? It's not something you buy. There's a massive shift in the age pyramid. There's no room in the elder care homes. We need services, not gadgets. We need an integrated ecosystem for elder support. Material goods are merging with services, from product to solution. There's a closing gap between information systems and the material world. It's an Internet of Services scenario. The Internet is lonely and needs more things in it. You get weekly email reports from your car via OnStar. The beer coasters can talk among themselves. You get data at the fine granularity of the thing level. Basically, all of heavy industry does only 9 very grimy activities. Iron and steel are 3% of the world's energy, while data centers are 1.5% of the world's energy. At this point, we're trying to shape the vocabulary. Google and Cisco are getting on board. We only create our technology when we absolutely have to. It's like finding your materials in the trash bin of the metal shop. They can design it in a few hours in the Flash or Java abstraction layer. I'm on a seafood diet. I want to see the Internet of Things before I buy it. We lined the elevator with touch screens. When the CPU is just the line item, the precious jewel becomes your building block. Not a general purpose computational device, but an everyday material. Aluminum provides lightness and springiness. Information processing provides behavior. No more inputs the size of our hands with outputs the size of our heads. Things are growing information shadows, metadata, and social lives. Smart, self-disclosing objects. The LED is the atomic unit of ubiquitous computing. Behaviors bring meaning to spaces that had no meaning. A wine bottle is a social object, just like Yuri Engstrom said about those potatoes. Shadows and manifestations in an exciting, interesting, and profound change. We're tired of relating to data through the glass. We're in the prehistory of the Internet of Things. How do we get there from here? What do we do now? Direct, intuitive, and spontaneous interaction. No mice, no keyboards, no icons. We use sound, light, and motion. Forget the connected fridges. People buy a new refrigerator maybe once every 8 years. Fun, cool, cuteness, simplicity, interpersonality. Empower the users, create a community, generate killer applications with a Darwinian approach, get 1 million ideas and save 5. It's not about a new race of blessed objects. It's about connecting mundane, already existing objects. It's about interconnecting all objects, not just connecting key rings to key rings. Home automation under one roof, inside a firewall of things. Every type of object has its own expressive capability. It's not the information superhighway with 5,000 TV channels. We're making the same paradigm mistake as with that old model. Things are not televisions. Some objects don't even have an output. If your house is running on Vista, you've got a problem. It's your toy, and it links to your page. And lastly, but very usefully and wisely, I thought, free drinks are a great social incentive. So those are all verbatim quotes from this Internet of Things panel whose question was, toy for hackers or real business opportunity? And the answer is toys for hackers. I got a couple here in my pockets, like free toys from the hacker guys. Here's like the rabbit with the inbuilt RFID, and this is sort of this year's model, which is the RFID scanner with a USB plug. So you can like interact with RFID networks in your home office, small office. All right, these are toys. They're not a super huge business opportunity. However, this is a space I've been watching for a long time, and this is a huge advance over the weird ubiquity theory computer vaporware that came out of MIT and Xerox PARC 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. This is the first time these kinds of computer science theories, frankly sci-fi notions, have begun to get a beachhead in the real world. Now, so what about mobiles, or whatever you people are calling them this week? Cell phones, mobiles, PDAs, handies, handsets. I've heard a lot. We don't use that term in the USA, handsets. Well, you know, I'm not particularly interested in mobiles myself. I'm a writer, I need like keyboard entry, but mobiles seem to be extremely interested in me. I mean, mobiles are really coming into my space. I hear about them more and more. The statistics are just flatly amazing. Like, Nokia is making 11 cell phones a second. And you're like, how is that even possible? 11 cell phones a second? How could that statistic possibly have any grip on reality? No, it's actually 16 cell phones a second. Not 11, 16. Or India, 6 million new cell phone accounts a month. Okay, even given that the population of India is 1 billion, how could you get 6 million new cell phone accounts a month? Well, sometimes it's 9 million cell phone accounts a month. Really just amazing statistics. There's no digital divide there. Poor people have cell phones. Poor people like cell phones better than rich people like cell phones. It's becoming a general purpose remote control. It's not a phone, it's not a PDA, anything we knew before. It's like a little gateway into an emergent realm, and it really is becoming the real world answer to 20-year-old computer science theories about ubiquitous computing. I mean, they're the portals of UbiCom, these devices, these handsets, whatever future thing they're taking. Ubiquitous computing is not ubiquitous, it isn't computing. It's cellular, it's mobile, and it has to offer some human ergonomic user experience through some kind of device people have. Inputs the size of your hands, outputs the size of cities. Anything you please. We're used to thinking of the analog world on this side of the glass, and the digital world is on the other side of the glass. And we're sort of touching the glass and messing with the glass. I really suspect that's going away. I'm not sure how to think about it, even how to frame these issues. I would urge you, try not to use the word intelligence. Try not to use the word reality. When anyone talks about actual reality, augmented reality, you know, just try and stick to real reality. Cell phones are not intelligent. They're not going to be intelligent. Artificial intelligence has nothing to do with what's going on here. It's a completely different, very 21st century kind of development, a fascinating thing to watch, really amazing. You know, I like to think of it in terms of literary metaphor because I'm a literary guy. You know, the analog world was like a swamp. It was a place kind of like Holland. It was kind of well organized and flat, and it had like large herds of cattle, and there were like colorful tulips and cheese, and it was sort of nice and productive and, you know, well organized. Okay, we no longer live in a swamp like Holland. We now live in a volcano. We live in a digital tectonic world, and the eruptions were going to come over and over again. People who still live in the swamp are not going to be that drastically affected by future developments. But if you're talking about the social impact of digital technology, social transformation of these handsets, these devices, those who live closest to the volcano are those who get buried by volcanic ash. In other words, the closer you are to the real sources of transformation, the more likely it is that your life is the one that's going to be changed beyond all recognition. It's like landline phones versus the early cell phone standards. Obviously, if you're in a cell phone space, you think of the old legacy landline companies as being your traditional opponents. Okay, people who still have landlines, maybe they have rotary dial telephones, they're very little affected by the transformations. But the first generations of cell phones, like analog cell phones, they're bricks. I mean, they're doorstops. They're dead. They're deader than Nineveh. You can't really go back to these early standards. The rapid development in cell phones is killing early cell phones much faster than it kills any of the other earlier, older legacy technologies. And I think that's a real principle. It's something you have to understand if you're going to be in this line of work. It's very romantic. It's very fast moving. You are building dead lumps of plastic. When people come out and they show you an Android and they show you an iPhone, they're showing you larval versions of something much more sophisticated. Both those devices are going to be dead. They're going to be deader than hammers, deader than anvils. You can use a hammer and an anvil. Those two devices will have no use. You won't be able to get them back in 15 years. You won't be able to access any of the content you may have in there. There will be no way to get to their protocols. There will be no way to use the pieces of the spectrum that they used to have. The world that you're building right now is the ground floor for something much larger. And the land, the soil beneath that ground floor is violently unstable. You're really like people building on Vesuvius. And when you're these things that you're putting into people's hands, they are not phones. I want you to just stop talking about that. You're putting banks into people's hands. You're putting health clinics into people's purses. You're putting consumer encyclopedias onto everything that has a barcode. That is not a phone, even with an I in front of it. That's not what you're doing. You're allowing people, even small children, never to get lost again, ever. That's a transformed society. And what will be built on top of that is much weirder than the transformation you're forcing onto other people right now. Revolution eats its young, ladies and gentlemen. You live really close to the volcano. I want you to think hard about what values you're going to save and stop worrying about the plasticware. So thank you for your attention.
Yeah.
Always wanted to do that.
Cool.
Right.
Time for some questions. Anybody a question for Bruce?
Where did they put the beer? That's a good question.
Hi, my name is Christine. Thank you very much for being here and for your presentation. I enjoyed it very, very much.
That's kind of you.
I enjoyed your novels very much. I'm a great admirer of your novels.
Yes.
And I think you did a great job, especially in your early novels, like Artificial Kid.
Like Woody Allen's early movies, which
like
were actually funny.
A good job in predicting the future. And as you mentioned, Xerox PARC people in MIT and other groups, those were the early audience of your novels. So wouldn't it be fair to say that rather than predict the future, you created the future of technology, or at least you helped shape the future of technology as we know it today?
Well, you know, of course I'd love to like put on the gear of a prophet and tell you that, yeah, I made all that happen. But that's not, you know, in fact the case. You know, in my novels, I mostly describe things that I saw other people doing. I'm not a tech entrepreneur myself. I've never invented anything. Okay, that's not true. I've never invented anything that was commercially sellable or had any military or governmental application of any kind. You know, I do write novels. I enjoy writing novels. I'm happy that people derive some benefit from them. That's not really a major league world transforming enterprise. I mean, it can loosen your head a little and make you kind of feel more awake about what's happening. But you know, if I was hit in the head by a flying asteroid, I don't think the things I predict in my books would change anyway, one way or another.
All right. I think you had more of
Next
an influence
question.
Than you realize.
Sorry? Well, maybe.
Thank you. Next question. I know there are some fans definitely want to say something. Ask them.
Hi, Ruth. Thank you
Hi.
for being here.
Thanks for your hospitality.
And it was a
Very
pleasure
kind
to host you. What is your next book going to be about?
Right. Well, I have a novel coming out in February, which is an Internet of Things book. You know, and I wanted to write a book about the Internet of Things. In fact, I wanted to write a book about the Internet of Things ever since I first read like the white papers out of Xerox PARC in the early 90s. And it's very, very difficult to do that. It took me 4 years to write a book that actually exists. It's set in the 2060s, and it tries to describe what life is like in a working Internet of Things. You know, mostly it ends up being about very normal kinds of, you know, does the boy kiss the girl kind of literary plot issues. But really, I went to design school. You know, I went to 2 design schools. You know, I wrote a design book on Internet of Things. I went to like Web 2.0 conferences. You know, people working in this line of work have become my friends. I really know it as intimately, I think, as any journalist or technologist in the world right now. I still can't get my head around it. It's really weird. Oh, well, thanks very much. All right, well, you know, we live to serve. We do what we can.
Do you have a question? Okay.
The Provos have arrived. Kind of awesome. I
Okay.
love Amsterdam.
Next question, Yuri.
Yep, thank you. How did your thinking evolve after your release of Shaping Things 4 years ago on the Internet of Things? How have things changed in your view? Thank you.
Well, you know, it's kind of typical experience for a science fiction writer. I mean, if you really sort of stay close to tech developments and you try to forecast stuff, 5, 6, 7 years later, somebody does show up with like a cardboard box, and they've like, yeah, I remember that thing you wrote about. I've like got the rollout of it. Okay, I don't usually expect it to be like green plastic rabbits, you know? Although Nabaz Tag is very clearly, you know, like a little Internet of Things play. It may even be the most successful one that's kind of a pure Internet of Things play, as opposed to, you know, cell phone biz, which is kind of doesn't know it's Internet of Things yet. Here's a guy who's like really into ambient computing and has sort of read all these white papers and is like, you know, I could make a product out of that. You know, and I see something like that and like the surreality of it really strikes me and just the humanity of it. You know, I mean, the difference between a sci-fi writer's notion of something that really happens and something that's like carried out with people with real flesh and blood. There's just something, you know, terrific about it. I mean, it's just dramatic and just a wonderful thing to see, and there's something extremely fulfilling about it. You know, it's like the birth of a child almost. So, you know, I feel touched by it and happy to see people do it. I mean, you know, I kind of share their enthusiasm and weep with their failures, and there will be many failures. Many, many, many failures. But, you know, as a literary experience, it's just great material. I mean, I love the community. What can I say?
Another question.
Yeah, Bruce, when I read your blog, my mind spins because you go from everything from fabric, the fabric revolution which is coming,
Right.
to all kinds of other stuff which
Yeah.
I didn't even comprehend. What, in the last 5 years, did you stumble upon in your mission to figure out what this whole Web 2.0 and the management and the Internet thing, that you find really useful for yourself? What happened to you, to your life, thanks to all these new things, which really inspired you and which you use?
I like Flickr, you know? You know, I mean, I remember like hanging out in like this garage apartment in Vancouver with like the Flickr founders, and they're like, we're trying to build a game and it doesn't seem to be getting anywhere, but we like built this way to like share pictures in our game, and we're thinking maybe sharing pictures might be useful to people. And I'm like, you know, get back to me if that goes anywhere. You know, and it's like really well put design, you know, really well put together, and you literally like saw it come from like just this, you know, couple with their cat up to, you know, their chihuahua, I guess now, and you know, and now they've got like a kid, and they like left their multi-million-dollar industry, and like, you know, just like tons and tons and tons of stuff on Flickr. I'm on Flickr. I'm not a photographer. My photos are terrible, but hundreds of people watch them on Flickr. I just think more visually now because I always have a digital camera. I see something, I think, oh, I'll put that on Flickr. Nicola Nova would appreciate that. It's like changed the way I approach the world. I have a more photographic eye. The social community on Flickr is very supportive, interesting. I get news from Flickr. I blog things from Flickr. It changed my literary life, really. It was, I wouldn't say it was like completely profound. I mean, if Yahoo dies tomorrow, I'm not going to hang myself. And I don't expect Flickr to last forever. I don't even expect my Flickr photos to last forever. But it's an innovation on the web which has been socially transformative, and it's affected my artistic practice. I don't ask for anything more, really. And they're cheap, and I am a Flickr pro. Yeah.
Any other questions? Or is it really time for beer?
It's time to drink. What are you people doing so obediently?
Okay.
Jumping up and heading for the
Thank you very much, Bruce, for this talk.
you.
At the end.